we will be discussing about ethical dimensions of public relations. In this topic, we will be tackling the three subtopics: Code of Corporate Ethics, Code of Corporate Conduct, and Corporate Social Responsibility. For that, let's talk about ethics. So what is ethics? According to Gower, ethics is related to the concepts like right or wrong, or good or bad human behavior in different social and organizational settings. In specific term, it is set of criteria by which the decisions are being made about what is wrong. Ethics are vital for society to maintain harmony. Since ancient times, many different views about ethics were made. Utilitarians, theoretical models advocated that the ethical act is one that produces the greatest possible balance of good over bad for anyone affected. This is also called Robin Hood ethics. Ethics in private and public relationships. Ethics in private relationship. In role-playing, an individual's private relationship, such as marriage, family, kinship, friendship, differ from his or her public relationship, such as relationship of politicians, bureaucrats with people at large, and a doctor's relationship with his patients. Private relationships are more intimate relationships. Attributes of private relationship. 1. Private relationships are often given or inherited. 2. They are relatively permanent. 3. More tolerance for imperfections. And 4. Expectations of loyalty, love, and affection from one's partner. Ethics in private relationship are generally directed by individual virtues, universal human values, religion, social norms, and law of land. It is confined to close relations such as family. Therefore, they comprise limited influencing factor. Ethics in public relationship. Public relationships are more instrumental, such as organizational colleagues, politicians, strangers, and other outside of one's relatively narrow circle of intimacy. Public relation is a management function that engages monitoring and evaluating public attitudes and maintaining mutual relations and understanding between an organization and its public. Its major objective is to improve channels of communication and to establish new ways of setting up a two-way flow of information and understanding. Public relation is often understood as an occupation that is always working behind the scenes, gliding in and out troubled situations. But public relation is also often considered to be a corporate conscience which fits well with the business ethics of social responsibility. There are code of professional standards for the practice of public relation to meet goals, such as to provide behavioral guidelines to its members, to educate management on public relations standards, and to distinguish public relations professionals from those individuals. Characteristics of public relationship. 1. In public, there are people who are different from dealing person. 2. Public relationships are likely to be instrumental. 3. Engagements due to work or benefit. 4. Expectation for respect. 5. Particular kind of role to be played in public relationship, therefore responsible for what person says. And 6. Accountability vis-a-vis what person says and what person does. According to Dwight and Waldo, there are 12 areas of ethical claim on public officials. These are as under: 1. Constitution. 2. Law. 3. Nation. 4. Country or people. 5. Democracy. 6. Organization, bureaucratic norms. 7. Profession and professionalism. 8. Family and friends. 9. Self, middle range collective vices such as class, race, union, interest group, and church. 10. Public interest and general welfare. 11. Religion or God. And 12. Humanity. Ethics need to have main role in communication because unprincipled communications are not as obvious as false advertising. proper selection of words, and good communicator can affect others, change their expectation and behavior. Good strategies can create an influential message that tells people to take action. Skills and knowledge as that are very powerful and easy to abuse. Nolan's 7 principles of public life. 1. Selflessness. Public officials should take decisions solely in terms of the public interest. They should not do so in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their family, or their friends. 2. Integrity. Holders of public office should not place themselves under any financial or other obligation to outside individuals or organizations that might influence them in the performance of their official duties. 3. Objectivity. In carrying out public business, including making public appointments, awarding contracts, or recommending individuals for rewards and benefits, holders of public office should make their choices on merit. 4. Accountability. Holders of public office are accountable for their decisions and actions to the public and must submit themselves to whatever scrutiny is appropriate to their office. 5. Openness. Holders of public office should be as open as possible about all the decisions and actions that they take. They should give reasons for their decisions and restrict information only when the wider public interest demands it. 6. Honesty. Holders of public office have a duty to declare any private interest relating to their public duties and to take steps to resolve any conflicts arising in a way that protects the public interest. And 7. Leadership. Holders of public office should promote and support these principles by leadership and example. The power of public relations to form opinion is one of the most convincing reasons to consider duties to society and to take care not to abuse that power by dishonest use of manipulation. Public relation ethics are the knowledge, understanding, and reasoning to questions of right or wrong behavior in the professional practice of public relations. In public relationship, public officials need to cope with 5 primary cluster of roles, which are: 1. His role in his personal and family sphere. 2. His role as a professional. 3. His role for the job. 4. His role towards his jurisdiction and work. And 5. His role towards society and humanity at large. Public servant must have to adjust with cluster of roles. Each role in the cluster has different concerns, values, and standards of behaviors. Each is marked by mix of ethical claims. Some duties are responsibilities and informal. Others are obligation and formal. After discussing about ethics, we will now be talking about Code of Corporate Ethics. Code of Ethics, it is a document issued by the top-level management which consists of a set of principles designed to guide the members of the organization to carry out business honestly and with integrity. It describes the core values of the organization that guides the decision making. It provides ethical standards which are to be followed by the members. Codes of ethics helps members in understanding what is right or wrong. The codes are disclosed publicly and hence addressed to the interested parties to know the way the company does business. Violation of the code of ethics by any member may result in termination or dismissal from the organization. 5 codes of ethics. 1. Integrity. 2. Objectivity. 3. Professional competence. 4. Confidentiality. And 5. Professional behavior. 3 main categories or types of codes of ethics. 1. Duties to clients and customers. 2. Duties to the public. And 3. Duties to the company. What to include your code of ethics and professional conduct? 1. Work environment. Employees should act with integrity, comply with laws, maintain a professional work environment, and comply with company policies. They should treat customers, colleagues, and partners ethically at all times. 2. Conflicts of interest. A company's reputation depends on the actions and integrity of its employees. It is essential that they avoid relationships and activities that hurt or appears to hurt their ability to make objective and fair decisions. 3. Protecting company assets. Employees should always act to protect company assets, including physical, intellectual, and electronic or digital properties. 4. Anti-bribery and corruption. A company's integrity is essential for maintaining trustworthiness and reputation. Employees should always do their work fairly, honestly, and legally. 5. Attendance and punctuality. Employees are expected to be regular and punctual in attendance. This means being in the office, ready to work at starting time each day. Absenteeism and tardiness burden other employees and the company. 6. Absence without notice. Employees who are unable to work due to illness or an accident should notify their supervisor. This allows the company to arrange for coverage of their duties and help others continue to work in their absence. If an employee does a report for work and the company is not notified an employee's status for 3 days, it is typically considered a job abandonment. 7. General harassment and sexual harassment. This company is committed to providing a work environment free of discrimination and unlawful harassment. Actions, words, jokes, or comments based on an individual's sex, race, ethnicity, age, religion, or any other legally protected characteristic are not tolerated. 8. Cell phone use at work. Personal cell phone usage during work hours is discouraged, except in extreme cases such as an emergency. 9. Dress code. A professional appearance is important when employees work with customers or potential customers. Employees should be well-groomed and dressed appropriately for the business and for their position. 10. Substance abuse. The manufacture, distribution, possession, sale, or purchase of controlled substances of abuse on company property is prohibited. Being under the influence of illegal drugs, alcohol, or substances of abuse on company property is prohibited. Working while under the influence of prescription drugs that impair performance is prohibited. 11. Tobacco products. The use of tobacco products on company property outside of permitted areas is specifically prohibited. 12. Internet use at work. Employees may use the internet when appropriate to access information needed to conduct a company business. Use of the internet must not disrupt or injure the company computer network. Use of the internet must not interfere with an employee's productivity. To write a code of ethics and code of conduct. 1. Review your mission statement and core values. The goal of a code of ethics is to help employees make decisions that are in line with what the company or organization values. This should be distilled into your mission statement and core values, so it is a good place to start. 2. Talk to stakeholders. What do the management, employees, and clients think are the most important values of the company to uphold? Get input from everyone involved to be sure your code reflects what the company stands for. 3. Review past ethical issue. Where has your company faltered with ethics in the past? Where has it shined? Call attention to problem areas and reinforce the strength you already have. 4. See where other companies faltered. Have other companies in your industry had recent ethical failures? Avoid the same pitfalls by covering these issues in your code. 5. Create a draft code for input and discussion. Give everyone a chance to help decide on the contents of the code of ethics by inviting them to discuss and give input on a draft. And 6. Create a final draft and share it. Once you've got a final draft approved, Share it throughout the organization. Importance of Code of Ethics. A code of ethics is important because it helps employees or organization members make decisions that are in line with the company values in the absence of a clear rule or direct supervision. A code of ethics can improve decision making at a business and make it easier for employees to be autonomous.
After discussing the Code of Corporate Ethics, we will now proceed to the next topic of this module. I'm David Marquez, and I will discuss to you the Code of Corporate Conduct. The Code of Conduct is a document that expresses the practices and behavior of a person. It is required or restricted as a condition for becoming a member of the organization or profession. The code sets out the actual rules. It lays down the do's and don'ts of an employee. The members are responsible for its adherence and held accountable for its violation. Every organization has its code of conduct, which is issued by the board of directors that determines the social norms, regulations, and responsibilities. It is in the form of written statement that contains rules for behavior, which are supposed to be followed by the employees of the company. The document directs and guides the employees in various matters. A professional code of conduct is a document that explains to employees how they are expected to act on behalf of their company. A code of conduct can include elements like the values of the business, disciplinary steps, and responsibilities. The purpose of a code of conduct. A company's code of conduct is meant to develop and maintain a standard of conduct that is acceptable to the company, its vendors, customers, and employees. Businesses usually use their code of conduct as a self-regulatory tool rather than a legal instrument, unless a company specifically references the code of conduct in a legal instrument, such as a contract, and requires all parties to abide by its terms and conditions. It will not always legally bind any parties. Remember, an employee code of conduct is a legal document that provides guidelines on acceptable behaviors of individuals in an organization. The employee code of conduct defines acceptable behavior and social norms that individuals in an organization should adopt on a day-to-day basis. It should reflect a company's vision or values and the overall culture of a company. It is a legal document that outlines a set of correct behaviors that individuals need to follow towards the others and the organization. The code of conduct is a set of standard social norms, regulations, and responsibilities of everyone in the company. It is important, it is clear, and comprehensive, covering all the important areas for your organization. The code of conduct becomes a legal agreement between the company and the employee upon its signage by a recruit. The importance of code of conduct. The main purpose of a code of conduct is to set and maintain a standard for acceptable behavior to all stakeholders in a company. It is a reminder to the employees of what is expected from them. It highlights that their actions should be always aligned with the ethos of the business. In addition, it should provide understanding of consequences and disciplinary actions if the conduct is broken. A last reminder for this topic. It is often believed to be the same as code of ethics. However, that is not the case. A code of conduct provides guidelines about acceptable behavior, while a code of ethics is a set of principles about a company's judgment.
Hello, my name is Sandro Ibasadre, and I'm here to report the corporate social relations. The modern era of social responsibility begins. In the early writings on CSR, it was referred to more often as social responsibility than as CSR. So what is social responsibility? Social responsibility is an ethical framework, and it suggests that a company has an obligation to act for the benefit of the society and the community at large, while CSR is a continued commitment by companies to behave ethically and contribute to the development of the economy while improving the quality of life of the employees and their families and that of the community and the society at large. So, as the title of Bowen's book suggests, there apparently were no businesswomen during this period, or at least they were not acknowledged in formal writing. One of the first and most prominent writers in that period to define CSR was Kate Davis, who later wrote extensively about the topic in his business. And Davis set forth his definition of social responsibility in an article by arguing that it refers to businessmen's decision and action taken for reasons that is partially beyond the firm's direct economic or technical interest. Davis argued that social responsibility is a nebulous idea but should be seen in a managerial context. Davis became well known for his views on the relationship between social responsibility and business power. Another major contributor to the definition of social responsibility during the 1960s was Joseph W. McWhare. In his book Business and Society, he stated the idea of social responsibility supposes that the corporation has not only economic and legal obligations but also certain responsibilities to society which extend beyond these obligations. Another significant writer on CSR in the 1970s was George Steiner. In the first edition of his textbook Business and Society, Steiner wrote extensively on the subject. Steiner tended to defer to Davis and Frederick's definition of CSR. He did state his views on the subject. Business is and must remain fundamentally an economic institution. The larger the company, the greater the responsibilities. But all companies can assume some share of them at no cost and often at the short run as well as the long run profit. It is a philosophy that looks at the interests and the social interests and the enlightened self-interest of business over the long run as compared with the old, narrow, unrestrained short-run self-interest. In 1980, Thomas M. Jones entered the CSR discussion with an interesting perspective. First, he defines CSR. Corporate social responsibility is the notion that corporations have an obligation to constituent groups in society other than stockholders and beyond that is described by law, union contract. Two facets of these definitions are critical. First, the obligations must be voluntarily adopted. Behavior influenced by the coercive forces of law or union contract is not voluntary. Second, the obligation is a broad one, extending beyond the traditional duty to shareholders to other societal groups such as customers, employees, suppliers, and neighboring communities. In 1987, Edwin M. F. Stein provided a definition of CSR in his quest to relate social responsibility, responsiveness, and business ethics. He pointed out that these three concepts dealt with closely related, even overlapping themes and concerns. He defines CSR as the following. Corporate social responsibility relates primarily to achieving outcomes from organizational decisions concerning specific issues or problems which have beneficial rather than adverse effects on pertinent corporate stakeholders. The normative correctness of the products of corporate action has been the main focus of corporate social responsibility. Understanding corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is a self-regulating business model that helps a company be socially accountable to itself, its stakeholders, and the public. By practicing corporate social responsibility, also called corporate citizenship, companies can be conscious of the kind of impact they are having on all aspects of society, including economic, social, and environmental. To engage in CSR means that, in the ordinary course of business, a company is operating in ways that enhance society and environment instead of contributing negatively to them. Understanding corporate responsibility is a broad concept that takes many forms depending on the company and industry. Through CSR programs, philanthropy, and volunteer efforts, businesses can benefit society while boosting their brands. As important as CSR for the community, it is equally valuable for a company. CSR activities can help forge a stronger bond between employees and our corporation, boost morale, and help both employees and employers feel more connected with the world around them. 4 types of corporate social responsibility. All businesses must do more than 6 strong profit margins for success. Being socially responsible is part of business survival in today's economy. Companies should take a stance on important social issues to build a brand that consumers trust and respect. As a business leader, consider these 4 types of corporate social responsibility and how you can implement programs that are good for the community and good for your company. Philanthropic efforts. Local communities and charities always need help. Smart business leaders knows that being involved in the community in a productive way is good for the company too. Like the largest companies in the world, Microsoft works closely with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to bring technology to the communities around the world. The company understands that its success requires not just continued innovation, but building a next generation capable of understanding, using, and improving technology. Even small companies benefit from aligning with philanthropic causes. A local car wash might offer schools a platform to host fundraisers for the sports team. Restaurants have fundraising nights, when proceeds benefit a local school or charity. Supporting these causes happens to also be a good marketing because the community is invited into the business, has a good experience, and sees the company in a positive light. Environmental conservation. Environmental concerns regularly make the headlines, whether a long-term problem like global climate change or a more local issue such as a toxic chemical spill. These efforts help minimize the environmental problems by taking steps such as reducing their overall carbon footprints. There are plenty of green cleaning alternatives that can help reduce your use of harsh toxic cleaning chemicals. All these steps can make a small but significant contribution to improving the environment. You can also ask your suppliers to do the same, letting them know that their environmental measure will be a factor in your purchasing decisions. By doing so, your environmental commitments are multiplied along the supply chain. Number 3. Company diversity and labor practices. Business leaders realize that diversity in the workplace is beneficial when everyone is getting along and working as a team. However, labor policies must apply to all employees, even those at the higher levels of the company. As a business leader, review your own diversity policies and protocols to address any complaints and violations. This is not only good for your company image, it also helps build a positive company culture with good morale and high productivity. Number 4 is supporting volunteer efforts. Local communities and charities always need help. Smart business leaders know that being involved in the community in a productive way is good for the company too. Give employees the opportunity to help a local school plant trees or work with the city council on addressing homelessness in the area. Business leaders have the opportunity to choose where to spend volunteer efforts to best help the local area along with the company. The important thing for businesses is to choose a cause and contribute time. The 3 CSR communication strategies. Based on Grunig and Hans' characterization of models of public relations, we unfold 3 types of stakeholders relations in terms of how companies strategically engage in CSR communication vis-a-vis their stakeholders: the stakeholder information strategy, the stakeholder response strategy, and the stakeholder involvement strategy. The stakeholder information strategy. Similar to Grunig and Hans' public information model, communication is always one way, from the organization to its stakeholders. Communication is basically viewed as telling, not listening, and therefore, the one-way communication of the stakeholder information strategy has the purpose of disseminating information, not necessarily with a persuasive intent, but rather to inform the public as objectively as possible about the organization. Companies adopting a stakeholder information model engage in active press relations, programs, currently produce information, and use for the media, as well as a variety of brochures, pamphlets, magazines, facts, numbers, and figures to inform the general public. The stakeholders' response strategy is based on a two-way asymmetric communication model as opposed to the two-way symmetric model of the stakeholder involvement strategy. In both models, communications flows to and from the public, but there is a conspicuous difference between the two models in that the two-way asymmetric assumes an imbalance from the effects of public relations in favor of the company, as the company does not change as a result of the public relations. Rather, the company attempts to change the public attitudes and behavior. As such, the company needs to engage stakeholders by making the corporate decisions and actions relevant for them, because the company needs an external endorser from external stakeholders. The corporate communication department will typically conduct an opinion poll or a market survey to make sense of where the company has hopefully improved and can improve its CRR efforts. The stakeholders involvement strategy. The stakeholders involvement strategy, in contrast, assumes a dialogue with its stakeholders. Persuasion may occur, but it comes from the stakeholders as well as from the organization itself, each trying to persuade the other to change. Ideally, the company as well as its stakeholders will change as a result of engaging in a symmetric communication model, progressive iterations of sense-making and sense-giving processes. Because the stakeholders involvement strategy takes the notion of the stakeholders relationship to an extreme, companies should not only influence but also seek to be influenced by stakeholders, and therefore change when necessary.
Significance of having these dimensions present in the organization. I'm Evelyn Ver. The significance of having code of ethics, code of conduct, and corporate social responsibility present in the organization is to ensure that everyone is doing their duty according to the law and regulations with proper conduct of principles and behavioral aspects in the organization. It concludes that these dimensions have a huge factor in every company. Why? Because these dimensions will reflect the company's image to the society and consumers that are willing to interact with you. Regardless of what organization you belong, everyone should have one. A code that value both internal guideline and external statement of corporate values and commitments. It provides employees framework of which rules exist from a regulatory and how to act in the gray areas of values-based ethics. It may differ on how, what, was the rules are there, as long as it was implemented by the company in order to obtain the peacefulness in the office. It also ensures that everyone is clear with the company's mission, values, and guiding principles. Because if you are not clear and don't know about it, you will fail to your duty. The responsibility that has a huge role in getting consumer, wherein you were doing it ethically, it was the biggest expectation of a consumer, wherein the responsibility, behavior, and the values that you bring will reflect to the organization that you belong.